Welcome back to another episode of Millennial Thoughts with your co-hosts Alicia and Nisa. But for right now, it is Nisa, and I'm sitting here with the lovely Tala Wilson. This week we're gonna talk about race, gender, intersectionality, and a little bit of everything. So right now, I would like to introduce our guest for today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I'm very happy that we got a chance to sit down this week. We had a post on Facebook asking for anyone to talk about this specific topic, and you were tagged. So we think that you have a lot of merit to talk about this type of thing. So before we get started into the questions in the interview, I'd like to give our audience a little bit of background on Ms. Wilson. So we know that you are the creator and founder of Diversity at the Table. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, Diversity at the Table was created in 2014, and I created it so that we can talk about gender, race, class, and sexuality, and how it all relates to social issues. In addition to that, I wanted to take the knowledge that I had that I had learned from campus, from my education, and give it to the community for those who may not have that privilege of going to college, just so that we're all being equally educated, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. So in addition to Diversity at the Table, tell me a little bit else about what you got going on.
So I have my website that'll be launching in a couple of weeks as soon as I find a good venue. I have my YouTube channel where I am doing product reviews, hair reviews, hair tutorials on different brands, really focusing in on my modeling, in my blogging. And I just have a YouTube channel. It's Talisha Wilson. Just go into YouTube, click search, and just put in my name and spell it correctly, and you'll have it.
Spell it right. Absolutely. Okay, wonderful. So before we wrap up the show, we're definitely going to revisit that so we can make it clear where you can find out about Ms. Tyla. So let's get into our first topic. We're going to talk a little bit about race. So first question for you. Do you believe we're in a post-racial society?
I do not believe that we are in a post-racial society. I think people have this idea that because we're not on the fields, like a physical field where it is physical cotton, and we're not being beat with whips and chains from some white master, that we live in a post-racial society, because our kind of enslavement is not pictured the way that people picture enslavement from the books and from history. People believe that it doesn't exist, but there's so many different ways that we are enslaved still, and where we're in a racial society where race definitely matters.
Absolutely. And just to say something about that, we both went to the University of Louisville, and I'd say that it was not until I went into programs like ELT and other things where I was really kind of awakened to it, because it's crazy, me being a black woman, and before that, the first 20 years of my life, I'd been in predominantly white schools and things. I had never really had to face that type of thing, but then seeing those specific issues come into play, it was like, oh really, this stuff still exists out here. So yeah, it's crazy. Even black folk aren't hip to it sometimes. So
definitely, absolutely.
Okay, so what is your definition of racial bias, and where do you kind of see it, even in your personal life now?
So my definition of racial bias is people who have a bias against you based on your race or ethnicity. So for me, I think I see it a lot in police accountability and the way that they treat black people versus other people, and that's including other people of color, because you have to understand, even within people of color, there is this anti-blackness that exists, from other people of color who are not black,
right,
or African American, whichever way they identify. I also see it at work, and people also need to understand that racial bias is not that. It's not only that someone sees me and says, "Hey," and call me the N word.
Right.
It's also when I don't get the advantages or the access to certain resources that my white counterparts do.
Absolutely.
So I think I see it at work where, with pay,
Mm-hmm.
with who has that glass ceiling,
Yeah.
or that glass wall.
Absolutely.
So, or glass escalator. I mean,
Absolutely.
so I think that I see it in those spaces the most, and then of course you have the other places such as the mall when you're shopping and people are looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
You have it in beauty stores where it is usually Chinese or Chinese people who are the owners of those beauty supply stores who are watching us. And then you also have it in airlines. I mean, it's those type of things, those type of areas where I see it the most.
Absolutely. Okay. So, so do you think it is our duty to educate people on racial bias or racism, or whose duty do you think it is?
I honestly feel, for one, I don't think that it's our responsibility at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in this space now where people are able to read about it. We have free public libraries where if you really if you were really interested in learning about race, then you can search race and race equality, race inequality,
Right.
and a million books will pop up, and you can go to the free public library to get those books.
Absolutely.
And if you don't like to read, there's access to the internet. There are videos, there are documentaries. I mean, there's YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and then also there are so many different programs that are in the city that is open for so many people
Mm-hmm.
that you can go to and attend, and then you can just listen. You can really just sit there and listen to someone. So for that reason, I don't think that it is my duty at all to educate non-black people about black issues. I'm already experiencing this issue, and now you want me to talk about it, which could be triggering and traumatic for me. You want me to talk about it, and you want me to do it for free because you feel like I'm obligated to do it?
Mm-hmm.
No, not when you have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being on campus and after a class, and because I identify as lesbian as well,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about LGBTQ rights,
Mm-hmm.
and right after class some girl was like, could you explain to me what this particular comment meant? I said, absolutely not.
Right.
I'm not going to explain that to you, not when you can walk across the same lawn that I can walk across and go into the library,
Mm-hmm.
because you attend this school as well,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get on the internet for free at your university and read about this information if you wanted to. But no, you want me to make it easy for you, and you want me to just be there at your, at your call, and it's like, no, especially not for free. So now, I have diversity at the table, and we talk about many topics, many other things that people want to be educated about. You can learn in that space. I have created that space so that people can come there and deconstruct their biases, and then we also can learn from one another. So outside of diversity at the table, if someone is trying to, if I'm at a park and someone says, oh, you're pretty, you're not like the others, or you're not like other black people, and I take offense to that, and they ask me why, I'm probably not going to be answering that question until you pay me.
Yes.
Because you can also just go on the internet and type in why is saying that offensive to black people, and you will really get your answer.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to be I'm not going to be living this tragic or traumatic experience then talking about it as well.
Absolutely. Reliving it over. It's ridiculous. I don't know when this shift happened, and it's funny because, like I said, the podcast is Millennial Thoughts. I don't know, with millennials, rise of technology, there really is no excuse anymore. Like, I think in Louisville, why not being one of the most diverse places, you can go to many areas and do your research without having to, pull somebody in and just be ridiculous. So I don't know. I think it's crazy, and there really is no excuse. I mean, when I was in college, I found myself having to explain the same concepts over and over again, and it almost was like, I don't know if this is too much, but a type of pleasure, a type of pornography for people,
yes.
just to get off on having me to explain it and be stressed out about the same situation over and over again.
Yes,
so
it's very invasive,
extremely invasive. So okay. So now those are some really good topics about race. So now let's move into, I guess, like intersectionality. That's a really, really big word that I don't think a lot of people understand. What all does that entail?
So intersectionality is about having more than one identity that intersects with each other, right? So no one is just one identity.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people like for us to focus on one identity at a time, but we don't exist as one-dimensional people. We have these multi-dimensional aspects of us, and people have to take those in as a whole. So it's very important to understand intersectionality, especially when you're in those specific spaces that are calling for one identity of yours. So if I am asked to be at the table talking about my blackness, they also have to talk about my woman blackness,
sure.
my LGBTQ blackness.
Sure.
You know, I can't just talk about blackness because that's not just who I am. That's a part of my identity, and I'm not like just one section. I'm a whole person, so you have to take in all of me.
Wow.
If I'm at the table with women, we have to talk about my experience as a black woman, and a white woman's experience is going to be totally different. So you have to take my blackness into account if you're wanting to talk about me being a woman. And the same thing with LGBT. You have to take into the fact that I'm also a woman, so my experience as a as a black woman and a white man is going to be different, even though we're both gay or
Absolutely.
LGBT. And then the same thing with my blackness. I'm not just LGBT. I'm black LGBT.
Absolutely.
My experience is going to look a little different, and it's not about comparing one to the other, and it's not about which one is worse, who has it worse. It's about the fact that we all experience life different based on our identities, and then we also perceive life different based on our lenses, and our lenses are our identities. I'm going to see life a little different from a light-skinned black woman with relaxed hair and a skinny trim.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. So in my philosophy class, while, you know, a lot of people are, they mean well, in my philosophy class in college, we were asked to look in the mirror and write a list of adjectives that we would use to describe ourselves. I think the point that the professor was trying to get at was, if you're a white man, you're going to say that you're a man or an athlete first. But if you're black, then you're typically going to say you're black first. So based on what I'm hearing from you, what she was trying to get at was that, you know, white privilege and whatnot. But really, she probably wasn't taking into account that intersectionality. When I look in the mirror, I'm not just black. I'm a black woman. I'm a black, you know, whatever. So I think that... I don't know. I think that there are a lot of well-to-do people out here that with the intent of trying to prove points about privilege, but really they're missing this whole other dimension out here. Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, people will... Yeah. So I think I understand what your professor tried to do. I don't think it was executed as well as it could have been.
Sure.
However, I do understand that, like, for example, men, if I ask them, if I ask a black man, what do you think what are you? I'm a black man. You know, he don't really, or which identity is most important to you. He's most likely going to say a black because that is what he is oppressed about. You know, you're not oppressed because you're a man.
Right.
Or you're not oppressed because you are heterosexual.
Sure.
You are oppressed because you are black. So that is the one that is most important to you versus a white man. He's gonna probably say his I don't even know what he would say.
Maybe his salary, maybe his hair color, something like that.
I don't even know what he would say.
Sure.
But a black woman is not gonna be able to say, okay, which identity of mine is most important, because all of these are important. All of these are things that I'm oppressed by. And the things that people bring the most attention to, especially negative attention to, is the one that you try to protect the most.
Absolutely.
And because womanism and blackness are both attacked, you know what I'm saying? We kind of can't choose between one or the other.
Absolutely.
So you have to understand my whole body. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask me to come to the table and just talk about one part of me, because I'm a whole person.
Absolutely.
If I tell you only one part of me, you're missing so many other things.
Absolutely.
And then you'll come in my space thinking that you have solutions to help me out of my situations, and you don't, because you've only acknowledged one part of who I am.
Do you see this as being a millennial issue? Do you see that the people that are intruding in these spaces are older folk or younger folk, or what's been your experience?
For me, I think they're young. Are you talking about like white people who?
Yeah, or just anyone, like, millennials. Like, is it people our age that are the curious ones trying to come in these spaces, and or is it older people that might not be educated on kind of what we're trying to be progressive about? You know what I'm saying? Where do you see the most problematic folk at?
I would say our people our age, and I say that because we're in this age where we're bringing a whole lot of attention to everything, and like I know so many people, so many black people, and so many younger people in general who know about like discrimination, know about prejudice, know about racism and all of that stuff, and knows how crazy this country is. There's so many people who know that, right? However, not many people know that like, for example, a heterosexual woman might not be able to, she might understand, like, slut shaming is wrong, but she may not understand why, calling someone a homophobe might be offensive.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, like, we're in this age where, like, all of our personal issues we understand, but if it doesn't, it's not an identity that we have, or if it's not something that we are oppressed by, we don't understand it.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. I just want to wrap up some final thoughts. Any final thoughts that you would want any of our viewers to know about anything that we've discussed? Anything that you're just tired of?
I think that we have to learn how to validate people who we don't necessarily. We have to learn how to validate people, even if we don't agree with them, even if their experience is not our experience.
Okay.
Even if it doesn't make sense to us, because we have to understand that everyone experiences life different. My lens does not look like everyone else's lens, and the same goes for vice versa.
Right.
So we have to consider that when someone tells me this hurt my feelings, just because it didn't hurt mine doesn't mean that it didn't hurt theirs.
Sure.
And understanding that those two truths can exist at once. I can work 20 hours and not be tired, and someone else can work 5 hours and be exhausted. And not me throw it in their face and say, well, you only worked 5 hours. I worked 20.
Right.
No, both are valid.
Absolutely, because it's their own experience. I think that is so important. When we're turning our lenses towards society and our personal relationships with family, it could just, not necessarily solve issues, but just put things out there and allow us to have more open and honest conversations. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes.
I just want to rehash. You're doing some amazing things. So tell people where they can find out more about Diversity at the Table.
So you can find out about Diversity at the Table by liking our page on Facebook, Diversity at the Table. You can also email us at diversityatthetable@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram, and I don't post as much as I need to on both of those, but I will start to do that because it's just reminded me that I need to do that. You can follow us both, follow Diversity at the Table on both of those platforms. Just at Diversity at the Table. And then you can follow me in my personal page on Talisha Wilson on Facebook, and that's a like page for that. And then you can also follow me on Instagram as Talisha Wilson. And if you type in Talisha Wilson pretty much on everything, you will find me. It'll either say Talisha Wilson or it'll say Sign My Beauty.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much. Stick around. We have another segment coming up soon.